Hello there. It is I, Jesse Milestone, bringing my fabulous hair back to Geeks and Gamers. It's been a minute, guys. Life has been hectic since Star Wars Celebration, but it's good to be back. And tonight, I'd like to speak to you all a little bit about cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance and how it relates to fans of Captain Marvel. And when I say fans, I mean the rabid and terrifying ones who are verbally assaulting, harassing, and abusing people on social media, left and right these days. So, cognitive dissonance, for those who are not familiar with the term, is the phenomenon by which you adamantly adhere to an idea that you don't truly at your core believe in. For example, almost every single person living in New York suffers from cognitive dissonance. And essentially what ends up happening is in order to justify this dumb decision you're making, your behavior gets more irrational and extreme because you can't cope with the idea of being wrong. So people who live in New York, the majority of them are miserable. They're living in this crowded, tiny little shoebox, and the vast majority of them, maybe the cream of the crop, it's different, the people have all the money, but the majority of people living there don't have enough money to enjoy actually all the wonderful things that come with living in New York. So they end up working all day long to try to make that money to justify even being there, and there is no real reason to be there because once again they're not enjoying any of the things that they could be getting with the money that they have to work day and night to have just to pay their rent. So as a result, whenever you try to say New York sucks to somebody who lives in New York, under those circumstances, they will flip out at you and tell you how, no, you're insane and wrong, and New York City is obviously the greatest city in the world! Sound familiar? Because yeah, this is exactly what the Brie bots are doing out there right now. And I mean, there are some straight up bots. I mean, there are for sure some straight up bots. There are people who are just trolling. There has to be. But there are definitely legitimate people out there who the second you say a bad word about Brie Larson, they have a total meltdown. They have that leave Britney alone style hissy fit at you. And this is because Captain Marvel is just not that great of a movie. I mean, it made a bunch of money for a lot of reasons, none of which had to do with the quality of the film, and everything to do with, for one thing, people like this being rapidly sucked up into the concept that they have to go see this female superhero because it's so important, and because, oh my god, people are saying Brie Larson's not going to be good at it, we have to do it because they only hate her because she's a woman. They go see the movie and they're like, well, that was the greatest movie ever because I can't deal with any perspective other than this one. And that's when they go rabid on you, on your comment section, on your Twitter, reporting you, harassing you, getting them. My personal favorite is being rabidly misogynistic towards any woman who doesn't like Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel and Brie Larson, the savior of all women, who has done exactly zero for women. It just if it strikes you as hypocritical, it's because it is. But again, these people are so rabid about it, it's because they're suffering from severe amounts of cognitive dissonance. They've told themselves that this must be virtuous, this movie must be excellent and virtuous because it stars a woman. That Brie Larson must be virtuous because she's singing the tune of their cause. Yes, diversity, yes, women power, all that stuff. So these things must therefore be good. Because they've written a narrative that has said these things are good. When the hilarious reality is that if Brie Larson were any normal person, anybody without the kind of platform and power that they only dream of, they would have turned on her ages ago for not being woke enough, for not being progressive enough, for not being black enough or gay enough, which, by the way, they kind of are right now. Well, some of them are. But the only reason why so many people get in this cognitive dissonance rut where they have to obsessively defend her in the movie and all of these things is because she has that position of power. She has that potential authority to change and affect the narrative. And so everyone's got to get behind, oh, Captain Marvel was so great, it was so empowering, it was so wonderful for womankind, when the reality is it's basically insulting in a lot of ways. I mean, you can take a look at the narrative that they tried to build in where Jan-Rog is psychologically abusing her or trying to psychologically abuse her to keep her down, but she never buys into that narrative. She's always too strong for it, she's too powerful for it, and she breaks away from it very, very easily. Now, people in actual abuse situations don't relate to those circumstances. In fact, that's very insulting to a lot of people in abuse situations who are struggling with the feelings of helplessness and powerlessness in these situations. There is no helplessness or powerlessness with Captain Marvel. This is one of the reasons why it does not make a good female empowerment story, why it doesn't make the right kind of inspiring message for women in tough circumstances. For women who've had a mostly good life and want to just be more amazing, sure, I'm sure it's the best thing ever for them. And that's part of it too, is that some of these women live in these circumstances. A lot of the people, men and women alike, who are singing the praises of this, or who are running around waving the flag of the social justice warrior, these people are all living fairly comfortable lives. If you have the luxury to complain and bitch about diversity in your movies, about identity politics day in and day out, you don't have any real problems. If that's your biggest concern, are these topics and how they relate to Hollywood, you don't have any real problems. But this is so much easier for them to deal with and so much easier for them to talk about. So rather than actually diving into the real mess of the world and getting their hands dirty and actually having to relate to people who have been hurt in ways they can't even imagine, they know that's out there. And this is the other part that's causing the dissonance. They know that those things are out there. They refuse to face or acknowledge or accept them. So they have to just dig their heels in ever more rabidly, saying the thing I'm doing is the most worthy, is the most just thing I could possibly be doing, because anything other than that, any admission other than that, is an admission that they are not doing their part, that they are not doing enough, and that they are not focusing on the right things. So the unfortunate truth is, because cognitive dissonance is such a powerful psychological phenomenon, these people just get deeper and deeper into these holes, and it's very difficult to show them the light of day and dig them back out again, because any bit of that means facing their own flaws and their own shortcomings. As we've just discussed, these are privileged. This is a privileged class of people that we're talking about here. So facing their own shortcomings is not something that they ever had to do. It's something that's something that they're equipped to do. They don't have the tools or the resources to deal with these things. If they were confronted with the fact that they are not the most virtuous human being on the planet, their little brains would explode. So that's exactly why you have this crazy phenomenon of people rapidly defending a movie that just isn't very good. And it's not like most of us are running around saying, oh my God, it's terrible. We're just calling it as it is. It wasn't very good. And in terms of defending Brie Larson, this is, once again, she is the exemplification of privilege. She is who they are, or who they aspire to be in their minds. She is privilege incarnate. She has everything. She was given everything. And she gives back by being an ally and just standing in front of a podium and saying the right words but taking no action. She's the reflection of themselves, looking back at them. So when we attack Brie Larson for her horrendous personality, for her inability to get along with her coworkers, for her self-aggrandizing, which is clearly just masking her deep inferiority complex, her deeply held insecurities, that's exactly what's happening here, is that this feels like a personal attack on themselves, because they project their own pathetic blandness, their own lack of uniqueness onto her. And oh, she did it. She's famous. She's in Marvel. She won an Academy Award. Therefore, she must be special. Therefore, she must be worth something. And us poking holes in that narrative, us tearing down that false reality, is just too much for them to bear. It becomes, in their very real realities, it becomes a personal attack on their entire being, on the entire core of their being. So if you're wondering why, if you were scratching your head and baffled at why these Brie Larson supporters and these Captain Marvel fanatics are so utterly rabid, there you go. There's your answer. It's very simple. Cognitive dissonance. Psychology. If you guys like this kind of dissection, by the way, I do love talking about things from a philosophical angle, from a rhetorical angle, from a psychological angle. So if you enjoy those angles, do let us know in the comments section below, because I will happily do more of these. I will do more of these all the time. You're going to see a lot more of me on Geeks and Gamers in the future, and if you do not get enough, you can always find me on my channel, Mindless Entertainment. So thank you so much for watching, and I will be back very soon.